Hi, everyone. You're here because you want to get past the headlines, really understand the core of significant events.
And today, we're doing just that.
Yeah, today we're taking a deep dive into something very serious, the attack in Pahalgam on April 22nd, 2025. Tragically, over 25 tourists lost their lives.
And to help us unpack this, we're looking at a detailed content strategy document. It was put together right after the attack.
Right. Think of it as the blueprint for communication, for managing the fallout.
Exactly. It lays out how to address everything that follows an event like this.
So our mission here isn't just to rehash the event itself. We want to pull out the key thinking from this strategy document. What was the immediate aftermath like? What are the potential long-term ripples for Kashmir, tourism, even geopolitics?
And we want to do that without, drowning you in information. Keep it focused.
Precisely. So looking at this strategy, where does it tell us to start? What's the immediate, the most pressing impact?
Well, right away, the document points to the huge hit on how people perceive safety in Kashmir. And, its appeal for tourists.
That makes sense. It goes right to the heart of feeling safe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in a place you go to relax.
Exactly. And the strategy overview notes this isn't just local. It has wider implications, potentially global ones.
Yeah, it taps into those bigger questions about regional stability, and it seems like the strategy is trying to balance that immediate shock with looking ahead.
It is, which leads straight into the government and diplomatic side of things.
Okay.
The strategy document actually speculates on how this might really shape India-Pakistan relations going forward.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, it explicitly mentions possibilities like suspending the Indus Waters Treaty, even closing borders.
Wow, suspending the treaty, closing borders, that's major.
It is. It really shows how high the stakes are, doesn't it?
Yeah.
These aren't small diplomatic gestures. They're potentially game-changing moves.
Absolutely. It underlines the gravity. But, okay, beyond the high-level politics, what about the people, the human side of this awful event? How does the strategy approach that?
That's a really key part. The strategy seems very aware that the narrative could become purely negative, dominated by fear.
Right.
So it deliberately pushes towards focusing on human stories, personal accounts, showing the resilience of the local community.
Ah, okay. So using individual experiences to kind of counteract the fear.
Exactly. Rebuilding trust that way.
I think that's smart, like featuring positive memories from people who'd visited Pahalgam before.
Yeah.
That reminds you of what the place is really about.
Mm-hmm. And also featuring locals, How are they coping? How are they starting to rebuild? It sends a message of strength from within the community.
Yeah, that feels powerful. A counterweight to the anxiety. It highlights that connection people have to the place, the community's strength.
Precisely.
But for anyone listening who might have thought about visiting, the big question is unavoidable. Is it actually safe? How does the strategy handle that?
It tackles it head on. They frame it under responsible tourism.
Okay.
It's not just saying, yes, it's safe. It's about committing to giving people real, practical safety advice. Concrete guidance.
So like tips for travelers, updates on security measures, that sort of thing.
Exactly that. Empowering people with information so they can make their own informed choices.
And I saw something in there too about tourists helping the recovery.
Yes, absolutely. Emphasizing how choosing local businesses, ethical travel options, how that directly supports the economy.
That feels like a tangible way for people to help, doesn't it? Making a positive impact through their choices.
It really does. It connects tourism directly to supporting livelihoods and sort of fostering hope locally.
Now, to give a fuller picture, the strategy also makes a point of shifting focus back a bit, back to Pahalgam itself.
Yeah, deliberately reminding people of the beauty, the culture, that the place is more than just this one tragedy.
Right. Its inherent appeal.
And there's this interesting concept they introduce, healing journeys.
Healing journeys. What does that mean?
Well, the idea is to frame travel there, maybe not just as sightseeing, but as a chance for more mindful, meaningful experiences, reflection, connection.
That's an interesting angle.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do they plan to get all these messages out?
Yeah.
What about social media?
The social media plan seems quite dynamic. It's not just broadcasting. It's about interaction, building community.
Makes sense.
So things like real-time safety updates are obviously crucial for trust. And they have the specific campaign idea, #RememberPahalgam, encouraging people to share their own positive memories.
Oh, that's clever. using collective memory to shape a more balanced online story.
Yeah. And crucially, it's not just official voices. The plan is to amplify community voices, interviews with locals, user-generated content.
That feels more authentic, doesn't it? Probably carries more weight than just official statements.
I think so. It's about rebuilding that trust from the ground up, showing lived experiences. They also mention things like, did you know? Posts about Pahalgam's history and culture.
Right, reminding people of its depth. And visuals, how do they handle the imagery?
Carefully. The aim is to inspire with the beauty, yes, but to stay, sensitive to what just happened. It's a balance.
A delicate balance, for sure. Showing hope without disrespecting the tragedy.
Exactly. Now, moving on to email, this allows for maybe more targeted communication.
Right, so what did they plan there?
Well, first, immediate crisis communication. Getting timely info and support out to past visitors, potential ones, that would have been step one.
Okay.
Then mirroring the social campaign, a Share Your Pahalgam Story initiative via email, again, fostering that community connection. And a responsible travel series emails offering that practical advice we talked about. Safety, how to support local businesses if you do decide to return.
So very practical, proactive help.
Yeah. And then ongoing communication, like regular newsletters with updates on recovery efforts, positive testimonials, keeping people engaged.
Leaving the focus on resilience, progress.
Right. And importantly, tailoring messages for international audiences, recognizing they might have different concerns, different perceptions, rebuilding that global confidence.
Okay, so stepping back, looking at the whole strategy document, are there bigger sort of overarching principles guiding all this?
Definitely. There's a clear phased approach mentioned. Immediate crisis response, then ongoing engagement, and finally, long-term recovery focus.
That makes logical sense for something this big.
Absolutely. And a strong emphasis on localization, making sure the message resonates both in India and globally, respecting cultural sensitivities.
That's key. And the imagery, again, powerful but respectful. That seems like a constant theme.
It is, because the visuals are so immediate, aren't they? And maybe most importantly, the document stresses maintaining empathy, accuracy, and hope throughout all communication.
Right, like core values guiding the response.
Exactly. They act as the sort of ethical compass here.
So pulling it all together then, the real insight from this strategy is, well, just how comprehensive it is.
Yeah.
It's multifaceted.
Totally. It's not a single fix. It's about informing, yes, but also supporting, inspiring, balancing the honest truth of the tragedy with actively promoting Pahalgam's resilience in its future.
It's a really considered plan for navigating an incredibly difficult situation, immediate actions, but also that long-term vision.
Very much so.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've seen this complex picture emerge, haven't we? The tragedy itself, the strength of the community, and these very deliberate efforts to shape the story, support recovery.
Which brings us to a final thought, really, for you listening. We've talked through this whole strategy, security, community stories, global PR, responsible travel, all of it. But what do you think is the single most vital factor in actually rebuilding trust and encouraging people to return after something like this?
Yeah, think about it. Is it a tangible proof of security? Is it the power of those community stories and their resilience? Or is it more about shifting that wider global perception of risk? What truly holds the key, do you think? Something to ponder.